Good morning on this Wednesday. I'm Brendan Kinney here with UpNorthLive News. It is June, which means we've been doing this 6 months now with Your Mental Health Connection. Erica may look familiar, but Michael's brand new to this. Erica and Michael, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And Erica, we'll start with you. If you can talk about what you do with Northern Lakes and anything people should know about you.
Sure. So I work at Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Authority, and I am the Child and Family Operations Manager in the Traverse City office. I have two partners, one that's in the Cadillac office and one that's in the Grayling and Houghton Lake office.
And Michael, welcome to the conversation. What should people know about you?
Yeah, hi, my name is Michael. I'm the Behavioral Health Director for a new crisis center that Northern Lakes is developing right now with Munson Medical Center. It's called the Grand Traverse Center for Mental Wellness. And so I'm tasked with kind of just, getting that open and helping it get off the ground.
At least for the June conversation for Your Mental Health Connection, we're talking about depression. But before we get into that, Erica, if people aren't familiar what you do at Northern Lakes, exactly what is it, and maybe the areas that you cover, because we are broadcasting from Northern Michigan, but obviously our signal goes all over the world, perhaps, depending on where people are watching.
Right. So we cover 6 counties in Northern Michigan, Grand Traverse, Leelanau, Wexford, Missaukee, Roscommon, and Crawford. And we have 4 offices, one that's located in Traverse City, the other one in Cadillac, and then we have an office in Houghton Lake and in Grayling.
And Michael, we'll start with you. Obviously, we know depression is very common. We'll start with, what does that exactly look like?
Yeah, it's a good question. It is extremely common. And most of us, I think, at some point in our lives have felt, down, sad, hopeless, the blues, that kind of thing, which are part of what people might experience with depression. But depression is more than that. We're looking for changes from baseline in a way that people are experiencing depressed mood, loss of interest or pleasure, maybe to the point where it's starting to affect our day-to-day. So I'll run through some of the symptoms of depression that people might look like. And by the way, when we're talking about depression or what people might call clinical depression, usually we're talking about a diagnosis of major depressive disorder. So this looks like feeling depressed most days, most of the day for at least a 2-week period, losing interest in things that you once were interested in, like the going kayaking or doing the hobbies that you once enjoyed aren't really giving you any pleasure anymore. Significant weight loss or weight gain when you're not meaning to, sleeping too much or too little, moving more quickly or slowly than you normally do to the point where other people are taking notice, feeling tired, losing energy, feeling just really down or guilty or worthless, having trouble concentrating. And then finally, of course, and the symptom we really need to be careful with is thoughts of suicide, thoughts of death, starting to plan for suicide, and withdrawing from others. So those are the main symptoms that we would look for with major depression.
And how does it look differently for adolescents and also between genders, Michael?
So I'll take that one since
Okay.
I'm the adolescent person.
That makes sense, Erica. Go for it.
Sure. So I would say adolescent, it gets a little trickier because I think there's a piece of adolescence that is kind of differentiating from parents and kind of having your own time. But isolation is kind of a big one. A lot of the things that Michael said are similar for teens as well. I think sometimes teens tend to look more irritable and consistently irritable than maybe depressed. They might be focusing on failures or things that they're doing wrong. They might be kind of self-critical. Sleeping too much or too little is a big one. And a lot of kids and teens have issues that kind of go along physically, like they might have headaches or feel nauseous or have stomach aches. And sometimes those somatic things can go hand in hand with teen and depression. As far as gender differences, I think girls tend to talk more about this stuff. They tend to be a little more open. Boys tend to be a little more closed up about it. And the statistics show just between men and women, that women or girls attempt suicide more, but men are typically more successful at suicide because they choose a lethal means. So there are differences for sure in the suicidal piece of depression.
Appreciate that insight. Now, when it comes to online screening tools, if you can talk about that and your thoughts about online screening tools in general for depression.
Yeah, with screening tools, sorry. So with screening tools, I think they could be helpful if somebody is really curious as to whether or not, some of the symptoms that they're experiencing are congruent with depression symptoms. I would caution folks to avoid like self-diagnosing or online diagnosing. If you are experiencing what you think might be depression, and again, we're looking for changes in your day-to-day, I would definitely encourage people to just reach out to a primary care doctor or a mental health professional in their area. The earlier the better, so that you can work to prevent these symptoms from getting worse.
Was there anything, Erica, that you wanted to add to that?
No, I agree. You want to kind of hit it when you're more at a prevention stage, or when it's more mild to moderate, than when you're really in a crisis with depression and it's delved down into maybe suicidal stuff.
Now, can anyone with depression get help at Northern Lakes, Erica?
So anyone who is in a crisis or needs mental health support in a crisis manner absolutely can. They can call our main number. We have mobile services for adults. We have mobile crisis called FAST for kids. The kids situation, if no matter what type of insurance you have, as long as you live in our counties, you can get supportive services through us for up to 90 days after a crisis intervention. And as far as adults go, we could refer people who have other insurances or other needs out into community resources, or even hook them up with our access folks here, if that makes sense.
When it comes to mild or moderate symptoms, Erica, what can somebody do to help themselves?
So I feel like the first thing is talk about it. For kids, talk to a parent, talk to a teacher, talk to a mentor, maybe a coach. For adults, talk to a friend, talk to a coworker, someone who you trust. You'd be surprised at how often people can relate, and also maybe have some good advice, and maybe have someone that they would hook you up with. Taking care of yourself. People are better able to handle their emotions when they're getting enough sleep, and they're eating well, and they're on a consistent routine, and they're active. So taking good care of just kind of the self-care that we talk about a lot can really help you be a little bit more hardy when you have some bumps in your life, as we all do. Limit screen time. I know this is a big one for kids, but it's so crucial for adults too. I think we can get caught on our phones or sitting on the couch and get really stuck in our screen time. So at least trying to limit your screen time at the end of the day is a big deal. Appointment with your primary care physician, as Michael mentioned earlier, they are typically a good place to start if you haven't talked to anyone before, need a referral, want to talk about medical management if it meets that level. And then reaching out to somebody in the behavioral health sector to see if you can get in and talk with someone and discover if there's a ton of stuff that we can help people with. And it is helpful if you get on top of it before it gets really bad.
And Michael, and at what point should a person seek help?
Like we've been talking about, I would encourage somebody to seek help if they're thinking that they are experiencing any of the symptoms that we mentioned before. The earlier, the better. So again, if you're really starting to feel those hopeless, kind of worthless feelings, if you're starting to feel dramatic shifts in your energy, or you're sleeping too much, or especially if you're starting to feel suicidal thoughts, I would seek help as early as possible. And like Erica said, that might mean that you talk to a friend who is able to help provide a referral, talk to your primary care doctor Sometimes they'll start you on things like antidepressants, but oftentimes they'll have referrals to therapists that they work with, or reach out to a CMH or a local mental health professional in your area.
Yeah, in terms of where they can go find help, in person or talking to a real person, would you suggest that would be better than that online screening tool that we talked about earlier?
I would say, yeah. I mean, as somebody who's done therapy for a while, I definitely prefer, and I feel like you feel the effects of the treatment better with in person. But hey, if virtual appointments or what are available to you, and there are a lot of therapy services out there right now that offer remote therapy for folks who may not be able to make it to an office, that can be helpful too. But yeah, I would say talk to a professional. Don't spend too much time self-diagnosing on the screenings. Just reach out.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything, Michael, that might look like depression that might not actually be depression? Anything like loneliness, grief, something like that?
Yeah. So there are a number of medical conditions that could mimic some of the depressive symptoms that we listed. So hypothyroidism, anemia, diabetes. Michigan is a beautiful place, but a lot of us know that in the winter, vitamin D deficiency can be a real thing. So, some medical conditions like that can mimic some of the symptoms. If somebody is going through a grieving experience, they've had a recent loss or something big has changed in their life, um, sometimes feeling sad or down is a really natural response to those situations. But again, it could look a little bit like depression. And then the last thing I'll touch on there is substance use. So particularly with drugs like alcohol, which is a depressant substance, you might see people withdrawing, feeling a depressed mood and exhibiting some of those depressive symptoms that are better accounted for by the actual substance use.
And Erica, if you want to go through those suicide prevention hotlines, numbers, anything that people should know about that topic.
Sure thing. So September is National Suicide Prevention Month. So I think we're thinking of really delving into this subject a little more in our September show. But I think step one is to talk to someone. Don't suffer alone. You'd be surprised at how many people have thoughts, random thoughts. You may not even feel depressed, and you randomly come across something that you're struggling with, and a thought comes through your mind. Talk to somebody. As a parent, I want to encourage parents and guardians to not be afraid to ask. I think a lot of people are afraid to ask their kiddos if they're having suicidal thoughts or if they've ever thought of suicide as an option when they're feeling really low. It's a big relief for an adolescent to be able to say, yes, I did, and it really scared me. And then that really lets you know that it's time to get some support and some help. Anybody can call our number. We have a 24/7 crisis line. They'll talk to you 24/7. They'll also hook you up with our mobile crisis teams if that's what you need it. Our crisis number is 833-295-0616. If you're a family and you want someone to come to your home, ask for FAST. That's our family assessment and safety team, and they will come to your home and do an assessment. There's a national hotline as well. Call, text, or chat 988, and that's pretty immediate as well. So if you just need to talk with someone or share something, I personally think it's better to do so in person with a friend or someone you trust, but that's a way to do it too if you're in the middle of the night and you don't want to wake anyone up. We also have an access number, and that's available 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. And that's 1-800-492-5742. And we have resources on our website, northernlakecmh.org, for all of these topics. And all the topics that we've talked about thus far in UpNorthLive are on that, and a lot of readable topics as well.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that, Erica. Was there anything else, either Erica or Michael, that you wanted to touch on about depression?
I don't think so. Reach out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the motto. Reach out, talk to somebody. you'd be surprised how many people struggle. And also that it's very, very, very treatable.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it, Erica and Michael. And thank you for watching on all of our UpNorthLive digital platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and X. Reach out if you need help. And again, thank you both for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you.